everyone, it's Jananie and welcome back to another episode of #EpicBookRecs. So this is a monthly series that I do here on the Epic Reads channel where I recommend you a bunch of YA books based on a certain theme. So this month is February, so I thought I would go with one of the biggest themes of the month, and that is Valentine's Day or romance. So today I'm going to be recommending you a bunch of YA romances, contemporary romances, ones that feature a relationship between two really strong characters from really diverse backgrounds. All of the books on this list are some of my absolute favorite YA romances, so I'm very excited to share them with you today. So the first book that I wanted to recommend is A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tara Mafi. So I've actually recommended this before in I think my very first Epic Book Recs video, but I'm mentioning it again because I really do think that the romance in this book, the relationship between the two main characters, Shireen and Ocean, is just so sweet and beautiful and inspiring and just so amazing because they are crossing cultural boundaries and having to face a lot of hate for their relationship throughout the course of the book. Basically, this book follows her main character Shireen, who is a 16-year-old Muslim girl a year after 9/11, and she's starting at a new school, and she ends up meeting this white boy named Ocean in her chemistry class, and Ocean has like an instant attraction to her and wants to know more about her, but Shireen has faced a lot of racism and hate and Islamophobia in the past year, so she is scared to get to know him and open up. So the story is really about Shireen opening up to Ocean, but even when they do have the chance to be together, they're faced with a lot of external pushback from parents, from community, from Ocean's coach. Like, there's just so many people against this relationship because of what it represents. But through it all, I think Shireen and Ocean have such a human element to them. They are such a sweet couple, and I absolutely love them. So definitely recommend this one if you're looking for a really sweet romance. The next book that I want to recommend is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. I absolutely love this book, and I just love the relationship between the two main characters, Mateo and Rufus. So this is a story that takes place over the course of, I think, a single day, and it takes place in a alternate version of our world, or a near future version of our world, where there's this thing called the Death Cast, which is this organization that calls you on the day that you're gonna die and lets you know that you're gonna die in 24 hours. And so in reaction to that, there's also this thing called the Last Friend app, where you can find a friend to spend your last day with. So Rufus and Mateo are very different people, but they both live in NYC, and so they end up on the Last Friend app and meeting each other for their last day on Earth together. And they end up going on kind of a night adventure through the city and getting to know each other, but also dealing with the emotional weight of knowing that you're gonna die. This is a really sweet whirlwind kind of romance. I love romances that take place over a single day. And one of the things that I really loved about this couple in specific is that Mateo and Rufus are such different boys, and throughout the course of this book you can see them bring out the best in each other, which I absolutely loved. Alright, the next book that I want to recommend is also pretty similar to They Both Die at the End, and that is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. So this is another book that takes place over a single day, and this is such a heartbreaking, wonderfully, beautifully told story. It follows two main characters, Natasha and Daniel, and they are like total opposites. So Natasha is a girl who believes in science and facts, but when her family is 12 hours away from getting deported back to Jamaica, she has to think on her feet and find some way to keep them in America. And then Daniel is sort of the opposite of Natasha. He is a dreamer and a poet, but he tends to hide that stuff away because he wants to be a good student and a good son to his family, to his Korean parents. But when he meets Natasha one day, everything kind of goes out the window, and he's determined to make her see that he can make her fall in love with him in a single day. It's a really, really cute story, and the two of them are kind of supporting each other through all of the hardships that are going on around them, but they're also racing against the clock to stop the deportation. But another really interesting thing about this book is that it is not only told from the main characters' perspectives, but it's also told from the side characters or minor characters that are around them, whose days are affected by Natasha and Daniel. And not only that, there's also some passages on like fate and destiny and just some really cute, interesting, thought-provoking passages in this book, and I just really loved it for that reason. It is not only the story about this romance between these two people, but also the human effect that people can have on each other and the impact that you can make on someone's life in a single day. Alright, and the next book that I want to talk about is There's Something About Sweetie by Sandhya Menon. So this is my most recent read, and I absolutely loved it so much. It is such a cute and wholesome book, and it follows our two main characters, Sweetie and Ashish. So Sweetie is a South Asian girl who is also fat, and she has reclaimed the word fat for herself, and she is proud to be the way that she is, but she is always kind of chafing against the expectations her mother has for her to lose weight, and also the judgment that she receives from a lot of people for her weight. But she is also a track star, she is a runner, she is the best runner at her school, and maybe even in the region, and so she's very proud of that as well. And then we have Ashish, who is a South Asian boy. He's also the younger brother of Rishi from When Dimple Met Rishi, if you've read that book, but he was recently dumped by his girlfriend Celia, and so he's been kind of reeling from that breakup and hasn't been able to get over her, and so he feels like his mojo, his playerness has been toned down, and so he's not doing as well in basketball, which he's usually really good at. He's a star player, and so he feels like he needs to get back on the horse and start dating again to really feel himself again. But with his track record of dating a lot of girls who aren't really a fit for him, he decides to enlist his parents to set him up with an Indian American girl to date and see if that will change anything. And his parents are happy to agree as long as he and Sweetie, who they set him up with, agree to a contract where they go on dates sanctioned by his parents. And so one of those dates ends up being the temple. That's their first date, and it's just a way of getting Ashish to reconnect with his culture and also make sure he's not up to any funny business. And then Sweetie, on the other hand, is taking this opportunity to date Ashish to kind of prove to her mother that she, as a fat girl, can still be with a skinny guy, a good-looking guy. She is beautiful and amazing the way she is. And she launches this thing called the Sassy Sweetie Project, where she does things the way that she wants to do and doesn't hold herself back from doing anything just because she is fat. I really, really loved this book. It was just so cute and adorable. And Ashish and Sweetie are such genuinely great, good-natured characters, and it was just so wonderful seeing them fall for each other. Another thing I will say is that the parents in this book are a huge part of the book, and it was just really fun and exciting with them in it. Alright, and then the next book that I have here is Love from A to Z by S.K. Ali. So this is a book that is quite international, I would say. It follows these two young Muslim teens, so Zainab and Adam, and they end up meeting on a plane on the way to Doha, Qatar, where Adam attends international school and where Zainab is going to be staying with her aunt after getting suspended from school for going after a Islamophobic teacher of hers. And the two of them kind of have this really cute meet cute and end up interacting a lot while they're in Doha, Qatar, and Zainab kind of interacts with his friends as well, the whole international community of expat children. But Adam kind of has this secret that he's harboring. He has been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and that's something he's been trying to hide from his family, who's already suffered the loss of his mother. And Zainab is trying to be a different version of herself in Doha while she's there, to see if being quieter and not speaking up as much about her opinions and, you know, being nicer will make a difference. But these two characters have an undeniable chemistry, and they are just so cute together, and it was just really interesting seeing their personalities mesh together. They are quite different, but they're also very similar in the aspect of their faith. This is again a set of characters who are so genuinely good-natured, and I was just rooting for them the whole time, and I just loved how this had so many cultures and identities within this book, and it was just so international as well. So yes, highly recommend this one as well. Alright, and the last book that I want to recommend to you today is Somewhere Only We Know by Maureen Gu. So this is a book that I was really excited about when I heard about it, and it follows our two main characters, Lucky and Jack. So Lucky is this huge K-pop star in Korea, and she is in Hong Kong doing a few performances before she is about to fly out to America to perform on the Later Tonight Show, where she's going to make her American debut. But Lucky has been kind of worn out by the pressures of her career and also feeling like she has lost her love for her profession. And then Jack is this boy who doesn't really know what he wants to do with his life. He knows he wants to put off college, and so he ends up in a internship at his father's bank, which he absolutely hates. But he also has this side hustle job where he is a tabloid reporter, which puts to use his photography skills. And even though photography is his real passion, he doesn't know how to pursue it or really get himself to go in that direction. But when Lucky is having kind of a bad day after a performance in Hong Kong, she ends up escaping from her hotel room and going down to get a burger, where she ends up running into Jack, who had just left her hotel trying to get a scoop for the tabloid, and ends up running into her. And so the two of them end up on this whirlwind kind of one-day romance where Jack is trying to use Lucky for a big story, a tabloid story, but Lucky doesn't know that he knows that she's Lucky, and so she is trying to have a normal day with a cute boy and just live one day outside of being this huge K-pop star. It is honestly such a cute romance, and it was also super cool because this is set in Hong Kong, and so the two of them are going around Hong Kong and seeing the sights and doing fun things. So that was really cool and interesting. And these two characters are really quite funny. They're constantly cracking jokes or, you know, making fun of each other, but they're also constantly pushing each other to be better and kind of confront their inner demons, which is really wonderful. So I really enjoyed this. And I think it's a really great one if you are thinking about, you know, your dreams and aspirations and what you want to do with your life. But those are all the books that I wanted to share with you today. Hope you found a fun romance that you want to pick up. All of these books books put a smile on my face whenever I think about them, and just the cute characters in them. So I really hope you guys will enjoy. But as always, I hope you guys will leave me a comment with a recommendation that you have for the theme of this month. So let me know what some of your favorite YA contemporary romances are down below. But that's about all I have to say, so I will see you in the next episode of #EpicBookRecs. Bye!